Well, good morning or evening, depending on what time you're tuning into this. So this video, why positive thinking, law of attraction, the secret, affirmations, concept of think and grow rich don't actually work and end up leaving you stuck, and what to do different that does actually free you up is really about addressing what I think many of us are encountering. We're encountering this concept that if I change my thoughts, I can change my life. And there's a definite truth to that. But what's not working and what makes that not applicable is that people tend to think, or are misled, or just in ignorance, not knowing yet, not being educated enough, think that thought is something that lives and happens up here and here alone. Hey Jeffrey, good to see you this morning, man. Miss you, brother. So thought alone does not really occur here in our head or in our brain. What really happens, scientifically speaking, is that thinking and feeling, sensations, emotions within the body are related. And this relationship is extremely important to understand, because cognitive therapy, or trying to change your head and your thinking, can only get you so far, because the emotional conditioning and the feelings and sensations of past pain and trauma leave impressions and traces and reactive patterns recorded in the physical body, or at least they show up in the physical body as far as we know. And what I have found through working with numerous people is that until we clear the conditions, that clearing meaning integrating, embracing, understanding, and retraining the body to feel safe and love, where instead it once felt shocked, it felt threatened, it felt fear and terror. If we don't retrain and clear basically that area, then you can change your thoughts all you want, but then your body will continue to react in moments of stress, or if there's just a triggering event of sorts. Now, I know many of you who are going to watch this know what I'm talking about, because you're thinking positive, and you got your mind focused on this, that, and the other. You're affirming things. You're writing your positive sentence down, your futures that you would like to see happen, and you go through life and things don't seem to change. Well, there's this power called the subconscious mind, or the subjective mind, which includes the emotional domain. And it's not just thinking. It's thinking, it's feeling, it's emotions, it's the sensations within the body. It's all of the content of our experience. And I have a program that I've developed, a new book that I wrote, an audio book in PDF, called Transmuting Trauma. Transmuting means to, alchemize or convert something like a base metal, like lead, into gold, of something of higher value. So trauma is something that we would consider typically to be low value, something we don't even want to have it happen in our lives. But we all have trauma to some degree, even if it's your mom saying, no, you can't have the candy bar, and you throw a hissy fit and you're really wanting that candy bar, and you just feel invalidated, you feel rejected, denied. And if you don't process those emotions well, you can create some conclusions that actually have you think that the whole world operates by denying you what you want. I mean, it literally can happen like that. So the trauma that we all go through, and some of us have greater degrees of trauma than others, is really the condition inside of our body and our emotional system and the brain, our memory, that prevents us from using affirmations and getting the things that we want. So we watch a movie like The Secret, we study principles like the law of attraction, and there's truths inside of that. But the problem is, it's like trying to put somebody in a car and say, hey, you have a car, and all you gotta do is put your hands on the steering wheel and start steering, and you're good to go. But there's no fuel in the car. You see, unless you change the emotional conditioning, unless you transform the nature of your emotions, the thinking alone will get you nowhere. Because emotion is the fuel, right? Emotion, energy in motion. If there's no energy in motion within the physical body and the sensations within the body, and the thought processes alone are trying to do the steering and the directing of your life, nothing changes. There's no change whatsoever, and it just frustrates the heck out of people. So if you're someone who's ever just tried affirming and doing positive thinking and found that it just didn't produce the result you wanted, or maybe you even got the opposite. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to just, please comment. Let me know. Like, have you had this experience? Have you tried everything you can to think positive, to go through your day, hold the right thoughts, focus on like the principles of law of attraction, and then found yourself still falling short, attracting a relationship that didn't seem to fit at all what you were hoping for? You're creating financial conditions that are opposite of what you were hoping for. Whatever it is, I'd love to hear your thoughts and how that showed up for you. So what I'm really getting at here is, there's this superstition really in the world today, and it's very prevalent, super prevalent, that if we change our thinking alone, we're going to change our lives, we're going to change our destiny. And it just isn't so. And, there's those of you who tried this, and some people I know who try to affirm things will actually start to feel the opposite showing up right away. The affirmation is almost like it's a contradiction to something else going on inside of them. That's a clear indicator that there is a subconscious, emotional, psycho-emotional condition that's at war, that does not agree with the affirmation. And so you cannot just, it's like if you have like 5 donkeys that you're trying to get to go forward, right, with all of your luggage and stuff, and you're just walking the donkeys, and you want to walk the donkeys, and all the donkeys decided to sit down, and they're like, we're not moving, and they have all your gear, and you're going to take those donkeys, and you want to travel across a few miles, you're not going to get anywhere. No matter how much you talk to the donkeys, no how much you affirm how good they are, until they actually get their butts off the ground and start walking, nothing's traveling, right? It's the same thing with yourself. It's like your emotional system is like those donkeys with all of the load that you'd like to bring forward. You'd like to bring all of yourself into this new future, this new destination, and yet they're not listening. So your emotional nature can be stubborn. It can be really stubborn. So in order to transform your conditions of life, you can't just change your thoughts. You can't just talk to the donkeys. You need to actually coax them through. You need to connect with them. You need to nurture them. And that means you got to get in touch with your emotional conditions and your nervous system and really face and embrace and integrate the pain, the hurt, the conclusions that you form during moments of pain and hurt. And that means what I call transmuting the trauma. Trauma's not bad. It's not bad. It can be something extremely valuable when we know how to handle it. In fact, those most painful moments in our life can become the most powerful moments in our life and give us the greatest sense of purpose. And purpose is extremely important. Purpose and dealing with our trauma go hand in hand. The more trauma we've experienced, the less purposeful we feel, the more stuck we are if we have not integrated the trauma. So integrating trauma into our lives and bringing that trauma into the forefront of our mind rather than just the subconscious is essential. No amount of thinking positive, no amount of affirmations is going to change the emotional conditioning, the feelings and sensations of the body that were created during moments of trauma. This doesn't happen that way. It's important that we access that. Now, this is something that even many therapists do not know how to do. Many therapists are just using cognitive therapy, talk therapy, and there's a lot of reasons scientifically that I can get into, and I'll maybe share a little bit about why that doesn't work. Number one, during painfully traumatic moments, the left brain, the analytical, linguistic side of our brain, actually is shown in brain scans to shut down. There's all kinds of information that's no longer happening or communicating in the left side of our brain. And what that means is only the right side is really firing and wiring, but more like in the amygdala and the areas of our survival brain are taking over in that moment. And so our information is being recorded, the information of the experience is being recorded in an area of our mind that remains below the cognitive level. It's not something we can access consciously, linguistically. And so when you try to talk about the traumatic experience, you can't really access the areas where the trauma has been recorded and was happening. So there are techniques, there are methods, there are practices, there's ways of being, there's contexts that trained individuals like myself can create that allow a person or a group of people altogether to process the trauma. That means to actually bring the trauma to the forefront instead of leaving it in the background of our consciousness. And we can clear the trauma, or better word that a friend of mine gave me the other day was integrate the trauma. I love that. Just integrate the trauma, because it's not something to reject. It's not even something to get rid of. It's something that's always going to be a part of us, but it's how we handle the trauma within our own emotional and psychological nature that determines the degree of our purpose and how much purpose we're living in. And in order to be successful and fulfill our dreams and have what it is that we want in life, we must be living inside of our core purpose. Now, purpose, I want to share this about purpose. Purpose is this impulse to fulfill a future, right? It's an impulse to fulfill a future that we're living towards, and we have sight of that purpose, and it relates to our surviving and thriving in life, not just surviving for ourselves, though. Having a sense of purpose, a true sense of purpose, a high-powered sense of purpose, means that we are actually engaged with the whole of life to the greatest degree possible and contributing what it is that we're here to contribute. When we are part of the continuum of life in a high degree, when we're contributing to humanity, the planet, and the betterment, the greater survivability of the whole, then our sense of purpose is really high. And we have power, great degrees of power to fulfill that. And it's something that can be experienced, it's something that can be explained, but it's something that can be experienced a lot better to be understood. But my company's called Purpose and Power Coaching, because I understand that purpose pulls us forward, and a true, real sense of purpose and operating a sense of purpose gives us greater degrees of power. So purpose and power go hand in hand, and there's no way to have a high degree of purpose and power if we have not integrated the trauma, the painful experiences of our life. Now, if anyone's tuning in now, I'd love to hear from you, your thoughts about this. Please engage. Please share what's there for you. Do you feel that you've tried positive thinking, affirmations, the secret law of attraction, all that stuff, and not gotten success at times? I'd love to know, because I hear this from a lot of people. I've worked with a lot of people, and I use affirmations. I don't think affirmations are not something to utilize. I think they can be very important for setting up states that allow us to be pulled forward. But if we set up those states and we don't deal with the conditions that are locked inside of our body and our emotional system, then it's like a game of tug of war that we start to set up inside of ourselves. Now, I think it can be important to set up that game of tug of war a little bit, because that contrast, when we start saying, I'm beautiful, I'm powerful, but you look in the mirror and you're like feeling like, oh, I'm not so beautiful, and I don't really feel powerful in my body. I'm saying it, I'm thinking I'm powerful, but I feel heavy, I don't feel strong. You see the contrast, and that contrast is great because it can start to show you that there is something to take a look at. But if you just go on and on and on and affirm and affirm and affirm and affirm, and you never address these internal conditions of trauma and the everything that's really stopping you, the emotional blocks that prevent you from having power and movement towards those positive thoughts and affirmations, then you just get nowhere. And it's frustrating, and there's a lot of, teaching going around because it sounds really good, and it's easy to understand, and it's easy to teach. So you have all these law of attraction teachers and all of these manifesting teachers, and they're all teaching that if you just focus on the future and think this, you're going to be great. And it's not true. You must get inside of the emotional nature. You must get inside of the feelings and sensations. You got to change the feelings in the body. You got to recondition the body's experience, because the body will keep you grounded in the past and not moving forward to a future of purpose and a future of power. So I'd love to invite you to have a conversation with me. If you've watched this far, I'd love to invite you to have a conversation with me to explore your situation, to see if you are dealing with this challenge, and to see about how we can create an opportunity for you to break through truly, to really recondition the emotions within the body, to transform what's been stopping you, to see how those positive affirmations alone are not making it for you. There's ways. Jeff Bolero, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man. I've heard you're doing really good, man, with the plumbing gig, man. That's freaking awesome. I'm glad you're on here, man. Sending blessings your way, bro. So just if you want to talk to me, you want to have a call with me, you're stuck in something, you've been affirming, you've been thinking, you've got a future you're trying to live into, your relationship's not where you want it to be, your money's not where you want it to be, your career path's not where you want it to be, but you've been working on it, thinking about it, and it's just nothing's changing. I guarantee you that the reason that's not happening is because there's trauma recorded in the body, in the subconscious mind, and you can't, welcome brother, and you can't break through that just by thinking and just by talking. It must be navigated through a special set of processes and methods that I have developed over 20 years of dealing with my own trauma and my own past pain and hurt and trying affirmations and not succeeding and not getting anywhere. It's like I've been doing that. Years ago I took that on and I was like, why can't I seem to break through? And because I'm persistent, I discovered what was going on. The subconscious content of my mind and my emotional nature and my body were preventing me from moving forward. And once I started addressing that, in this last couple of years even, I've been addressing it to a much higher degree, some deeper levels of it within myself. And that's 20 years of being on this path. There's always more that unfolds. But if you want to make amazing breakthroughs in your life, this type of work will accelerate everything that you're looking to have in life. It'll just accelerate you getting there, basically. And I'd love to talk to you more about that. I'm going to continue producing videos about that. If you want to have a conversation with me about it, I do free discovery and breakthrough calls where we discover, what's going on, what you've been trying to do, what's not working, and bring a lot of light and clarity to that, world of yours that you've been operating in. And then we create breakthroughs by showing you what really is the cause behind all of that. And so it's a great opportunity to get to know me and how I work, to learn personally with me what's really available for you, the methods that I use, and if it resonates with you and you would like to go further and do some one-to-one coaching or jump into one of my group coaching groups and work with a group of people to break through this stuff together, which is really high-powered. It's super fast, it's super accelerated. I get not everyone's interested in a group, so we do one-to-one as well, but if you're just tired of being stuck and you want to move to another level, then reach out and let me know. I'll happily set up a call with you. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. Please leave any comments that you have about what you heard, what you're going through. I'd love for your engagement. It'd be great. I'll share back with you. Send me a private message if you don't want to leave anything public. Thanks for tuning in this morning, or if you're watching the recording, thanks again. Sending big blessings your way. I appreciate you. You're a powerful being. You're a purposeful being, and I'm here to contribute to that in any way that I can. So thank you. Take care.